Here we are, back again. This is going to be about my setup again. It's a revised part of my setup, and I want to give a little bit more details and how I think about what I'm setting up my Necro character for my what I do in the game and stuff is probably fairly boring to what a lot of people do. I know I keep claiming that, but I just hunt rares. I camp them, and usually when I find a rare that I can take out, because I'm not really concerned with progression at all, I will just simply go to that same rare over and over again, daily, weekly, monthly, throughout the, in many cases, throughout the entire life of an expansion. I will kill the same rare solo over and over and over again as I collect, the stuff I need for my gear and stuff like that. And I get pulled away once in a while with a group or something, and then I'll, kill other rares with the other groups and help them do what they're doing, usually progression or something like that, or they just want to, hang out with me and stuff, and just, because we know each other in game, stuff like that, and that's kind of cool. I do that once in a while. That's fine. A lot of times, I just need to get off when I need to get off, and I don't want to let people down that are depending on me for extra DPS, maybe because of a really hard named or rare mob and stuff, or whatever. I hate, I don't want to let people down, or stuff like that, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, so I solo a lot. For anybody new here, it's kind of what I do, and currently I've moved to the Western Wastes zone, right here into the dwarf camp here, and the southwest or east, southern part of the zone, southeast part of the zone here, right here, and that's the Cobalt Scar zone line. You go south of that, and right in here, that's where that dwarf camp is. It's where vendors are for the spells for the X-Pack and stuff like that. And there's a name that spawns around here called Blackstone that I've been killing. Now for this rare, I've needed to charm one of these dwarves to use as a pet. I use Dire Charm, and I do that to kill the Blackstone, and it's worked like a charm. It's worked pretty good. Sometimes it works very securely. Other times it's a little bit of a DPS race, and I kind of barely get them out, and I have to sweat it a little bit, but most of the time, I'd say about half the time. So it's like a 50-50. Sometimes, half the time it's going to be a little bit close. Other times I'm going to kind of blow them out and have 40% left of health on the, I'll do it like in 3 minutes or something, and I'll have a lot of health left on the charm pet, and I wasn't sweating my mana or any kind of crap like that at all. Other times it takes almost all my mana, and my charm pet almost dies. So, or almost, it runs like closer to 5 minutes or a little over 5 minutes, and the charm is almost ready to run out. It's about 50-50. It's just probably the luck of the draw for the crits and whatnot. Bottom line is, I've yet to die or have anything go super far south with that method. So this is my guy. This is my rare that I'm doing for COV. That's just what I'm doing. If I have any other new go other places and stuff, will probably be in older expansions, just for fun content or whatever, to kind of share stuff like that. So that's about the content. This is really about my setup, and I like to have my setups to be a little bit more of a catch-all. I know that there are a lot of Necros, especially Necros that really push their DPS to the limit. They want to load up as many dots as all the dots they can, and have very, very little sort of utility in a spell line when they're going around doing their stuff. I like to try to be a little bit more versatile. Not a lot. I used to be worse than I am now. I used to try to keep all my buffs on here that I need and stuff like that. I got one buff. That's the rune buff. The frozen skin is my self rune that I just don't feel comfortable not having it on. I just don't. So that has to be on. Another thing that I have to have on is Incite Ally. Whether it's a charm pet or my regular pet, this is an invaluable. I'll go over it later. That's invaluable. Another one a lot of people don't have on all the time, some do, some don't, is the Char Bones. I've grown to like this one, and I like how this makes it versatile. You can this enables you to turn live mobs to give an undead tag to it, so that your undead abilities work on them, whether it be a the slow cripple thing through the Terrace Thule AA, or if it's a live mob, you can use it to change it to be undead, so you can actually even dire charm it and use it as a pet, and it won't wear off. Whatever spell action you take on a mob, a live mob, after you change it undead, that it stays, right? So if you charmed it when it was undead, when that buff rolls off, when it becomes live again, it still stays charmed and under your control. It doesn't lose it as soon as the debuff wears off for the undead tag. Same thing will go for the undead dot that we use. That's not it, but there's an undead only dot that's I'm hopefully gets upgraded here in this coming expansion in November or so, whenever the next one comes up. That is very useful. It's very economical and useful and powerful, and it's an undead only thing. Well, if you use Char Bones on a live mob and you hit that dot, it's gonna hit it for the undead damage, not the nerfed sort of regular damage. It's much reduced. It'll still do damage on a live mob, but it's way less. Here, I'll just go ahead and put it on here so you can see what it does, in case you're curious. That would be damage over time, and I believe it's magic, and it is Scourge of Destiny. See, it's a 108 spell. I'm hoping they do an upgrade to this in this coming X pack. If they don't, it looks like they might be just doing away with this line altogether. This is a shame. They tend to. So you see that the base mana for it is only 2714 for this rank, for this high of a spell. Even 108, that's pretty low. And the undead damage is 7464 base damage, which is for Necrodots is pretty good. That's a good solid medium, but when you know the damage per mana cost is pretty awesome. It's astronomical. And this right here, if you just do it on a live mob, it's going to do 4753, which is kind of crappy. You always want to do it against an undead mob, whether you make them undead through your Char Bones, or whether you or whether it's just undead and you just use it. So excuse me, I'm sorry. So that's a spell that I like to have on all the time. It's just part. And what I do is, technically I have 8 dots, because this is a dual combo dot. This lands 2 dots for 1 cast, so it's really 2 in 1. But as far as the spell slots, I only have 7 spell slots for dots. So I'm going to run down these. So anyway, that's my overall sort of strategy. I don't like to have super specialized spell lines for what I do. I want to be able to have just leave the same spell line out, right? This combat spell line out, whether I'm facing undead or dead mobs. One of the spots here I could either use either one of these, really. If I wanted to take this out and put it in another dot because of whatever situation, I could. If I wanted to, but typically I would just take this last dot and use this as sort of a swing, and put in something that if there's a situation that rises that I need to use a different type of dot, like the undead dot, or if it gets upgraded. I'm not going to have that replace this one, but because as you can see, the haze is 7538. It's just like about 100 or so more than the undead dot, and this is a 114 spell, and the undead dot was 108. And plus on top of that, this costs $64.35. The undead dot was like 2,700 for mana. So that you can see this huge advantage that undead dot is big. But of course, you have to add in the cost of this nuke with the undead dot. So let's just do that. 2,700. It's 559. Around 5,900 or so. Let's just round it to an even 6,000 mana. That right there. And this is about, let's round it to 65. It's still less when you count in the nuke. Plus the nuke adds extra DPS. You know, it's not a super light nuke. It's, you know, 23k. It's not as great. It's not super good, but you know, you could add that damage onto the DPS of the undead dot also, and it probably actually, you know, if you want to mess with that, it could really work out. But as it stands, I decided to just go the simple route and just go with haze. Everybody uses haze, and you know, if I change my mind later, I'll let you know. As you can tell, I'm a little on the fence whether to use haze or that undead dot. For a while, I was using that undead dot very consistently, and I was pretty happy with it. So I might go back to that. But for right now, this is it. That's another thing too. I do as much as I want to have this just catch-all thing. I do switch this up. But it's once I switch this and change this lineup, this is my combat lineup. I don't, this right here, this charmed one right here, I'm sorry, this spell lineup is just simply one spell, and this right here, after I charm a pet, I like to buff it with the pet haste, right? So when I charm a pet, I got the charm, I immediately buff it with this, and then the pet buffs is going to go on it too. Frenzy and Fortify are going to be on the charm pet. Hit that, and then also when I send it into attack, because this goes off when I send the pet into attack, it's going to give it this life tap proc right here. That is a proc of 6,500 damage, and it returns 400% of that as health to the pet, up to a maximum of 52k. It's a 52k heal, and adds an extra damage proc. It's a huge aggro generator, which is helpful for a charmed pet, especially, to make sure you can stay under that. You don't get aggro. So yeah, and that works really good, because if the fight goes on and the silent casting you know, runs out, I think this lasts a minute and a half. A minute and a half, right? For me anyway, when I fight the rare here, the fight lasts more than a minute and a half. So, and I'd prefer not to FD, because if you FD with a charm pet, it's going to cancel the charm, and you're going to lose the pet, and it's just done. Then you got to wait a half hour for Dire Charm to come back up again. That kind of sucks. So, anyway, so I got this is the wounds dot. I got this combo dot here, and I have Whirling Shadow. Got the two poison dots, and I have the big fire dot that everybody loves, which I do too. It's rocks. And then I've chosen to use Oblivion instead of the undead dot. So there's that. Those are the dots. I'm going to go over my special crap down here. I've already showed you the pet buff thing. This fires off Frenzy, and then after a pause for lag, really, it fires off the Fortify, and then this DPS thing right here, it fires off Silent Casting, Twin Cast, Spire, Funeral Fire, and Hand of Death. This button right here, I have to hit it twice because of the casting times on these. So I just remember to hit it twice instead of just once. I have to put enough crap on there, and I don't want to have to mess with putting pauses in it. I'll just hit it twice and it's good to go. Snare has got the instant cast snare, AA snare. Then this also right here is a dispel that if a mob I'm attacking, it's got some pesky buffs that's been on it, it's pre-buffed on it. I hit snare and I just hit it right away again, and it'll debuff the mob. Very useful if you have a charm pet and you've killed a rare, and then you release the charm pet, and the charm pet still has the pet haste on, and probably might still have the fortify buffs on it and stuff like that. And side ally, you don't want to go back to your former charm pet, try to kill it, and have it buffed on you, and end up being a little more difficult than it really should be. Probably should still be able to kill it pretty fine, but why make things harder, right? So it's kind of handy in debuffing former charm pets too, right? Pet attacks I got pet attack and Q swarm for the extra little baby skeletons and whatnot, and zombie pets. That's from the other stuff that I'll cover that also. This cast 11, but first, so I hit it and it casts right here, inside ally, to buff my pet right away. Inside ally is just an awesome pet buff. It's only 1100 mana, which is practically nothing at this level at 115, and I don't see a reason why not to just use it all the time. It's super fast cast, half a second cast time, and it doesn't hurt anything to have it on there, not at all. And you may as well just put it on every time you send your pet to attack somewhere. It makes practically no difference in your mana consumption. This right here, I've named this rune debuff, right? Because I cast this and it does the Terrace of Thule, whatever AA, to debuff the mob that Necro's got. I should be thorough, and that might be under class. Scent of Thule. There we go. This 751. This is right here is the debuff, right? And it debuffs pretty much all the major debuffs. It didn't used to debuff against used to debuff against magic, but it does now. So the whole idea of Necros, it's almost a requirement to camp some sort of clicky Tosh kind of thing to help with magic resist. Is kind of a way of the past now. You don't really need to do that anymore. So if you know an old schooler, you already have something. Even the one kind of weapon that you have to go in melee with, you don't need to mess with that at all. You have this AA, and you get it. I forget when you get it for the first time, but whenever you get this, just use it all the time. It's a nice debuff, and you're basically kind of like a mage or an enchanter. You have a nice little debuff to pre-debuff, and it's fast casting actually too, so you don't have to worry a whole heck of a lot. It's faster casting than Mallow, I tell you that much. So that does that, and it's got a slight pause, and then it actually uses the Cascading Death Shield rune. It's like a rune combo with heals, and it cascades. Puts a rune on, then it puts another rune on, then it puts another rune on, and whenever one rune dissipates, it does a heal on the pet also after the rune goes away. I put this on here simply because sometimes when you first put your pet in against the mob will get some really quick, especially if you have the rogue pet up like I do for trash mobs. Even trash mobs, higher level like current content trash mobs, will get a couple of really hard hits in on your pet, and your healer merc will sometimes struggle a little bit to kind of catch up on the healing, and it'll get, and it'll just make things a little more exciting than you'd like it to be against trash, right? So I just went ahead and threw a rune on there, and I haven't had any aggro. I don't steal aggro really from him, so I'll see my aggro kind of jump up sometimes 20 or 30 points initially, but he's got taunt and he does backstabs all the time. It's usually not very much. A lot of the time, my aggro stays at 1 for a while until I get my dots rolling. be perfectly honest, I've kind of forgotten what these other two things are. It's a little embarrassing. What's going on there? Oh, now I know. So that's the AA. That's this rune. This second one here is the AA rune, right? If I'm against the named and stuff, even if I have a charm pet, I still like to kind of rune it to try to help it out a little bit to make sure it lives through the whole fight. So in between throwing my dots down and refreshing, like I'll throw this first dot down, and I'll throw this right here. It's got a round of 3 dots, right? Once this gets done doing its thing, then I'll go ahead and hit this debuff thing again, and it'll cast a rune, which usually this isn't come off cooldown yet, so I'll do the AA rune, and I'll cast this round the second group of 3 dots, and then I'll go ahead and cast this again and re-rune my pet. This is usually back up again, and the pet will have a fresh rune again on it, and then I'll do some swarm pet action. 58, I'm trying to remember what 58 is. I did change this slightly fairly recently. I kind of forget what that is now. Hey gum, what the hell is that? Pardon my French. 58, what would I put there? It will come to me. Let's just go ahead and hit it. I hit it once, it's doing that shield. Now it's doing the AA rune. Let's do it one more time, see what it does. It's not doing anything, so it must be a target. Oh, now I know. Yeah, that's the AA complete heal companion. That's what that is. So that's a heal for desperate times, right? Let's say if I have to rune super fast, and this is down, and this is down, I can hit it and hopefully save the pet, right? Kind of a thing. So this is the complete heal. There's a dude, 12 strings, that whenever he makes macros, he puts the names in parentheses of what each of the AAs he's got going on does. He might even do spell names, I'm not sure. I've always thought that was a really great idea. It doesn't seem to get in the way of the function of the macros. And I just keep procrastinating and not putting them on there. So that's another reminder that I should do that one of these days here real soon. I'm not going to do it now though. Okay, so this is the swarm nuke is what I call them. So it's got the swarm, excuse me, it's got the swarm pet, and it's got this nuke here for the assert for blood. Incidentally, this is a poison nuke. Resistance to poison, just so you know. So if you're looking for nukes, if you want to find because this is really the most common nuke that every necro uses. If you want to set up a spell line, and you're like, where's that nuke at? Use that blood thing or something with it. I can't find it in the. Then you just look under the poison nukes, and that's where it'll be. It used to take me a little while to find it myself because I was like, where the hell is it? Because it looks like a fire thing, right? When you hit it, there's like a ring of fire that goes around you. So you think, oh, it's got to be a fire nuke, right? No, it's poison. So, whatever. I don't know why the ring around you isn't like green or something, or, that poison thing were like green snakes or something. It's kind of a weird thing. Okay, so 10 is the skeletal horde bones thing. This is like a spam button, so I just hit it and it does this. Then I hit it one more time and it casts 9, which is this nuke. This has a cooldown and this has a cooldown. The cooldown is enough that once I hit that nuke, if I hit it again, it's going to hit this AA. And this AA is Wake the Dead. Wake the Dead, if you have corpses lying around, we'll raise them up as many as 5 at a time. There'll be level 113 minions to attack your opponent. And these little I call them my zombies. These zombies, although they look like the like unkill dwarves around here, they'll all be dwarves. They'll all look like dwarves, but they're my zombie dwarf army. Anyway, so we got they have this little thing where occasionally they'll do a little nuke for like 10k, a little extra attack they do. Um, it's a 10% chance, but when you got 5 of them rolling, this actually goes off fairly at a pretty decent clip. It's not bad. It's nice extra damage. It's just, yeah, it's nothing to write home about. 10k at this level is not huge, but it's extra damage. Damage is damage, so, you know, you add that to their melee damage and, you know, you're getting somewhere. The next one is the right, so then if I hit it again, it's going to hit this AA. It's got a 10-minute cooldown, which is fairly short. Incidentally, the cooldown for Wake Dead is 3 minutes, which is fairly fast. Because these, at this level, even killing trash for me, takes at least a good minute to kill a mob. And that's pretty typical for somebody soloing as a necro. Other classes soloing these that are just kind of group geared like me would take longer to solo. A lot of them would. Mages would take longer to solo a trash mob. A group geared mage does not put out near the DPS a necro does. Anyway, so they got this, Rise Bones, 3 level 115 skeletons. They just have straight up just melee attacks. Then the next AA is the Swarm, little skeletal archery guys. The damage on these is pretty lame. It's this arrow attack. It sounds, I don't know. Personally, I think the AA is probably bugged or something, and they just never fixed it. Because it always feels like it's so lame. It doesn't really hardly, you don't feel the impact of the damage it's doing. Not like these other two. I really think they need to take another look at this AA, but you know, who am I? So, you know, whatever. So that's that button there, and that's just my spam button that I will spam. I'll hit it once before I start throwing my dots on. Like against the trash, I'll hit number 4, then I'll hit the wound, and then I'll hit these other progression of the rest of my dots that are totaling 6 dots. Then I'll go back to here and hit the swarm spam again. Just put some more skeletons out, and I'll nuke it probably. And I usually, if I have zombies available, some dead bodies around, I'll hit it again for zombies. If not, I'll just kind of recast my this last group of dots again, and then I'll also recast this. So the order for me against a typical trash mob is 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 4, 7, 6. By then, the mob has got maybe 10 or 15% life left, and I can just chill, take a sip of coffee or something, and just kind of listen, enjoy the music I got going on or whatever, and a few seconds later the mob just dies. I just wait for it to die. So that's that. This line here, this is basically everything I have on cooldowns for these right here, and also this. These right here I just like to know if they're up or down when I'm hitting this, which is up. And then these 2 buttons are basically the rest from here all the way over here are these 2 buttons here. These are the spell lineups I've memmed. This is a camp check that I holler out whenever I log in here. If somebody else has this Blackstone camp, that's cool. I'll just either play a different character, or sometimes I might go somewhere else just to kind of dink around a little bit, and you know, just because I'm on game to have fun or just kind of relax. So if I can't relax here, I can relax other places. You know, it's I'd like to progress my character, but if I have to go a gaming session without progressing him or having a chance to getting some upgraded gear or whatever, it's not the end of the world. They put an expansion out once a year. Okay, if I can't keep my main up within a year's time, you know, that's not a great statement. I mean, you should be able to. It should not be that hard. I have max AAs. I've had my A's max since April, I think. It doesn't take I mean, you know, if you're consistent, so I probably play 2 to 3 hours a day, a couple of gaming sessions a day. It's a daily thing for me. I probably play a little bit more on the weekends, honeydew lists permitting, um, instead of like two, you know, like hour and a half gaming sessions. I'll add another one in on the weekend. So on the weekends, like maybe 4.5 hours total on the day, which when you say it like that, feels a little sad, but it's broken up and it's on the weekend anyway. It's on a weekend day anyway, so screw it. That's what I like to do. Um, this is the route, sort of I call it a punt route that I have for this. Okay, I'm gonna go through these. So these are the dots here. This right here, mana buffs. This is the Death Bloom and the one that uses your life. I forget what it's called. Um, for mana, it's I use it once in a while. You got to be mindful when you're using Death Bloom, especially because you have that buff that's eating away at your life. The Merc is going to be healing you, and if you have that going on while you're making a pull, the mob is going to go make a beeline straight for your healer. And depending on where your healer is positioned, it might cause some issues. You just have to be aware of it. You send your pet in, it'll pull aggro off your healer really quickly. Um, Especially if the healer's got its AAs, you know, up there pretty good. But it's something that you have to be mindful of. So I typically try to hit it when if I'm around 50% mana, I'll hit Death Bloom near the end of a fight so that it has a chance to run for a while before the fight's done. And then when the fight's done, there's a recovery. You know, the Merc will finish healing off the pet, and it'll keep healing you, but then then it's kind of run its course a little bit, or it's close enough that you can, and it's not going to slow you down too much. But if the Merc is healing me, I try not to pull. This Summon Elwood is for when okay, I'm getting off track here. I'm sorry. So that's mana buffs. This is Harm Shield. This number 9 key is my sort of a swing key or multi-purpose key or whatever. Sometimes I'll have Harm Shield in there. Sometimes I'll have the AA route in there. Depends on the environment I'm in. Sometimes I'll have Bone Slow in there. The Bones Charm, I just, if I have to charm a live mob, I'll do that. Frankly, I've never actually had to use this. I've used it to test it out, but it was against undead mobs, so, but the timing of the spells and the AA worked fine. The AA, and see what this does with Bones Charm, it'll do the Terrace first because it debuffs against magic, and then it'll do the Dire Charm. And then once it's, I'm sorry, not Dire Charm, it'll do the debuff, and then it'll do the nuke, Char Bones, and then it'll do the Dire Charm. I've tested it before, and the pauses and everything times out right. So if you want to adopt this, it should work out fine. Probably your lag depending a little bit on your server as well as just your internet, but nowadays even fairly crappy internet's going to work like a champ with this game. This game's pretty old, so you don't need super fast internet to play it. It was originally built for dial-up in mind, for God's sake, so, that's how that goes. So that's my sort of catch-all or flex spot, if you will, for AAs and different little tools to put in. This is my FD key. I got the AA FD. Oh, there's Death Bloom right there. Huh, okay. No, not that. Here it is. Death Effigy right here. That's what that one is. And this is Death Piece. It has such a fast refresh, I don't bother putting it up here. It's got a 5-second refresh. DE's refresh is a minute and a half. It's pretty fast though. So yeah, if this happens to be down and there's like oh crap, I forgot about that guy moment, there's maybe something saw through with the Inviso that this gives, and I have to FD again really quick, then I just, death piece is set up, so it'll just go ahead and plop me back down again. This is the standard Inviso/sit button. This is designed to use as a nice button to hit to go ahead and recover after an FD. I'm going to FD here. Have FD'd. If I hit this, it's not going to invis me. It's just going to stand me up. Because these right here are happening before the sit action happens, right? So it's not going to use this. This is in the undead invis, by the way, AA. This happens before the sit or stand action when your FD happens, right? And this doability, that's forage for me. And these are two auto inventory. My forage is maxed, so a lot of times I'll forage two things in one shot. So I have to have auto inventory in here twice in case so I don't have to spam it multiple times to get the stuff in my bags. So so I'll go ahead and hit this again. As you can tell, it sat me down. It casted this invisible, whatever it is. I have the same type of button. This is undead invis. This right here is regular invis. It's the same thing, except it uses regular invis instead of undead invis. Like that. See? It's Cloak of Shadows, right? There you go. So it forages, it casts either whatever invis that I choose. This one's the undead. Then it sits, and then it inventories whatever I've foraged if I am successful. It's a nice little utility button that is nice. It works great with standing back up from FDs and all kinds of crap. This oh crap button here is basically added in. It's my FD button with my pet feign added in. And then once I have used that and if the pet's still alive and it's still prone from FD, all I have to do when I set back up is hit Summon Elwood, which is going to summon the pet, which will instantly wipe all aggro 100 with 100% with no leveled limit, by the way, either. It's just 100% aggro wipe for the pet. And then it'll, stand the pet back up so it'll follow me because it was prone before, so it'll do that. So there's that. I have that there as a separate button. And there's no time limit, like if I oh crap, if everything goes well, I can stay down and take my time, and think about it. If I lose track of where that button is, Summon Elwood, it's in all caps right here, but I can, where is that button at? Okay, there it is right there, right? Next to my cap check button, so, so, anyway, that's me. I can be a little scatterbrained. These are, self-explanatory. I do have Levant. I don't really have to use it very often. I don't take a lot of super big chances. Like I said, once I find a rare camp that I am confident in killing and fits my purpose, I will. That's just my routine. When I want to chill, put some music on, go to my camp on EverQuest, play my Necro. That's where I'm at. Play for an hour and a half, log off. I'm good. So because of that, I use this maybe for convenience sometimes to get in different places and zones if I go somewhere different and stuff, or somebody wants to group with me and it helps me get to them faster. That's fine. If I go into a situation that's unfamiliar for the beginning of a new X pack or something, I might move this Levant back down to here and put it either here or maybe here, this flex spot, so that I have, various ways to deal with moments that are bad. Incidentally, if you and your pet both have to FD, your Merc's going to die, and you're going to have to wait 5 minutes anyway for it to come back, so for you to be able to revive the Merc, so you may as well just smoke him if you got him. At the very least, you saved your pet, you and your pet, so. Excuse me again. Whisper Wind is that teleport thing. It can be useful at times. I got it up there just in case I want to use it. The lesson for XP boost, as everybody knows. Modifier's Unity is for the buffs. I Flush to Venom. I don't like to use that, so I have that automatically blocked. And when I have that blocked, and if I hit this, it still works for the other buffs on it. Just the Venom buff doesn't come on. I don't like the Venom buff. Doesn't seem like it's really all that worth it. I'm sure a lot of people, min-maxers, would argue against that, and they're probably right. But I get by without it, and I don't like the damage it does on me. In the future, I might change my mind, but for right now, I just don't like it, so I keep it blocked. This is the pet illusion. This is my familiar that I have auto leaves. So anyway, so there's that. Incidentally, this is the okay. I'll put that back up. The familiars. This is the stat familiar, and this gives this right here. This buff here, which is super long, I think it's 12 hours or something, and you have a 5% chance to reflect some detrimental spells back onto casters. I don't know how well that works. I don't. It just seemed very necro-y to me. I happen to have it in my claims, probably from when there used to be a card game in-game that you could play and get rewards from. I used to play that a little bit, and I think I got this from that. Maybe. Could have been from something else. Anyway, so I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. So there we go. It's an extra buff. If it helps, great. If it never helps, I don't know. It might help only up to a certain level of spells, and it's doing nothing for me now. It's still, whatever. It's still got it. It's still on there. Your mileage may vary, however that goes. What was I getting at? I gotta go back to this again. This right here is the stat item for my illusion. This right here is the mask, Guise of the Deceiver, I got from the casino. There's other videos in the Bizarre Casino, I think is what it's called. Shadow Haven Casino, something like that. Anyway, there's other videos on YouTube about that, on what you need to do it. They sell golden tickets at the loyalty vendor for a certain number of loyalty points. So that's a nice little shortcut to do that. Anyway, I got this mask here, as well as I do believe I have the drum, glowing black drum, the super fast mount from it also. Anyway, the reason I have this is because if I'm mounted, and I have to refresh the buff I get from the Plague Bringer, which is this one. Essence of this gives about an extra. What's it give? I'm going to click it off. No, I don't want to. I like to have them in a certain order. And I've finagled it so that if I click this off and I hit this again, it's going to put the illusion here and the buff here. And I like it the other way around. I'm weird. So I'm not, but just trust me, it's like 20 or 30 extra mana regen, which is not horrible. It's pretty, it's pretty good. It's a marketplace item. A lot of people use it, so if you want to get that illusion. I have the mask here because if I'm mounted, I'm going to mount. I can still use this illusion because this is a Dark Elf illusion. The graphics are already there for Dark Elves to be able to mount. If I had the original illusion for this item, it wouldn't work if I was mounted. But if I'm mounted, if I'm outdoors, all I have to do is hit that, and it's going to refresh this. It's going to still give me the Dark Elf illusion, which if I'm in the mood, I'll leave it on. Otherwise, I'll just take it off. And that's refreshed and good to go. Gonna have the Merc refresh those buffs. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna go ahead and buff up. The named isn't around. These dwarves around here are neutral, so you don't really have to be invis all the time. Oops. Got that. I'll just refresh this. It's not. You're not going to see a stone gargoyle show up because it's on auto leave, but he would be up right there. Hit that. Alright, hit that. I'm going to amend my buffs. I'm going to have this go up. Get refreshed. That refreshed. Refresh this. On the pet haste. Pet haste is refreshed. Refresh this. And refresh that. And viz back up because it's just my habit. And good to go. Alright. You've already seen me in action, not with this specific spell set. One last thing I will mention is that I've kind of reorganized the order of dots and how I've got these configured with my macros and stuff, because there are cases where wounds will proliferate all the way through to the second part of it. There's a second dot that'll come up that's stronger than this original dot. That's only 5k. If it goes through the full duration, a second dot does like 17 or 18k a tick. Will be at the end. Will go up for like 42 seconds. It's an awesome dot. Once that proliferates into the second part of this dot, you can recast this dot again, and it'll stack with it. That's the only type of stacking these wound dots will work, though, because technically the second dot after this runs all the way through its course is technically a different dot, so you can still cast this again. When you're up against names, many times you're going to have to recast this. You're going to have to recast it at least once, maybe even twice if you're kind of sweating it on a named mob. So because I have that action, I can't really add that into a macro, because if I hit the macro to recast this, it's going to do the other dots, and those other ones may not really technically need to be redone, and it's kind of a waste of mana. So I want full control over being able to refresh this single one by itself. And then these others are on very similar timetable. These two are, it's kind of how it works okay for me. If I get a better system, I'll let you know. But for right now, I've been doing it like this, and it's working okay. So it's been a while. My videos tend to be longer than they need to be, and I'm sorry about that. I'm kind of new. I'm just a novice at it, and I'm just doing this for fun. And I appreciate all the views I get, and I appreciate any comments you guys make. If you guys have any suggestions or something you like about my setup, something you don't like. I've had compliments on how clean it looks, which is cool. I don't have to point and click on a lot of stuff when I'm just doing my thing. I leave my pointer right over here, and I use the keyboard for everything else to target mobs that I want to kill. And I'll just go ahead and start one here. Got a single. I'm rooted, but it doesn't matter. Right there, that was 2, and I just hit 3. You see that rune go up. Hit 4. 5. 6. And then it's going to kind of go through its progression of the dots right down the line here. It's only 3 dots, so it's done with that. So I'm doing number 7 now. And it's going to cast its 3 dots. I hit 4 skeletons. Right? Hit 4 again for the blood nuke. There are no other mobs here for me to make zombies, so I'm not going to hit it. I'm going to hit one more time now since the blood nuke is refreshed, and I've done that. Now, I'm going to hit 7 again, because this is blinking. That refreshes that. And sometimes I won't hit 6, but most of the time I just do it anyway. I just hit 6 to recast the disease dots and the 2 other dots that this one does, the fire dot and that last poison dot, which is pretty overkill. But I'm a necro. I got mana regen stuff that enables me to kind of go overboard if I feel like it. It's not going to really hurt me that much. And good to go. Boom. Done. Death in probably about a minute or so. I don't really time it, but it feels like about a minute. Maybe just a little bit more than that. Maybe closer to a minute and a half. Somewhere between a minute and a half. There we go. So that's my setup. That's the logic behind it. And this is my regular just combat setup. And I have a special charm setup. And I have a buff setup. Just has the buffs I need to be able to fully buff my pet and myself. The stuff that I need to click on and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it for my spell lines. I got 3 different spell lines that are really all based off of my one combat spell line. And there we go. Have a great day. And rock on. I'll see you, Noreth, next time. Bye.